The topic of this video is determining a planet's habitability. The planet of interest is Mars. Ever since we learned about potential water sources on this planet, it's become a subject of great interest to many scientists. But how do we go about determining whether this planet is habitable? The answer will follow up in the next slide. First, we look at the planetary composition. In order to determine whether a planet's habitable, we first need to focus on its composition. One of the biggest factors is, does the planet have the necessary elements to support life? These elements are oxygen, nitrogen, carbon, helium, silicon, and phosphorus, or sponge for short. If you look at the top right, the orange elements will show you those, minus selenium. As far as Mars is concerned, we can find many of these elements, but not all of them. This is partially due to the thin atmosphere and the fact that as the planet currently doesn't support life, it makes sense that it wouldn't have all these elements. However, there's reason to suggest that it may actually support life despite this, but that life is underground is the thing. Because we know of the existence of some ice pockets and now even a water pocket, but we'll discuss that later. But according to the necessary elements for life, the planet does not support it, at least on the surface. Now the question is there water on Mars? Which I already spoiled the answer, it's yes. Looking at the surface of Mars, we can see that there is no water. However, there's evidence to suggest that there might have once been water running along the surface. If you take a look at that image, you can see that there's some craters and valleys that suggest water may have once ran along the planet's surface, which makes sense because we've learned that the planet was once similar to Earth in a earlier period of our sun's lifetime. But right now, the surface has no water. However, we have recently discovered, and we're pretty confident, that there are some ice pockets underneath the planet's surface in some little underground areas. And as recently as mid 2018, we've discovered that there might be a water pocket under there. So moving on, we have the habitable zone, which is another important factor in determining whether a planet's habitable. As you can see to the right, there is a habitable zone we have determined based on the distance from the sun that in any planets in those zones, in theory, might be able to support life. We've got the conservative and the optimistic. The conservative is a realistic one. The optimistic is obviously what we would hope for, but as you can see, Earth is within the conservative zone, which makes sense, otherwise I wouldn't be talking to you. Mars is also within this zone. Now keep in mind this is an updated habitable zone compared to the one we've used for a long time. And that's partially just because of the discovery of new exoplanets, as you can see below, that may also house life. But anyways, as we can see, Mars does fall within the conservative habitable zone, which makes sense considering the planet does have water, whether it's frozen or liquid. And this tells us that, the planet may currently house life or may have once housed life. But the big question is Mars really habitable? In its current form, it's not habitable to us, is the short answer. However, with the discovery of water on the red rocky planet, especially the fact that there may actually be liquid water, in tandem with the fact that the planet was once similar to Earth, there's reason to believe that some microbial life may exist underneath the surface of the planet. It's not going to be the gray Martians from the movies, but this is an interesting find because the planet is quite literally right next to us in the planetary scheme of things. Although that it does take years and years to get there, it is a planet that potentially hosts life and could potentially be terraformed to support us as human beings, which is our bottom line. So anyways, I know this video isn't super comprehensive. There's some more sources here that I'll post in the comments. But thanks for watching, and I hope you learned something new.